How's it going, my friends, and welcome back to Silly Scale Models and our second Mark 14 Spitfire. So this one is going to be Lazy Lady 5, what I've been calling the standard RF version, because of course in the last episode we did G Spit, which was the civil version. So of course I couldn't do my usual weathering, so in this one we'll be looking at that. Again, this unfortunately is going to be quite a short one, because like I said in the last video, a large chunk of footage doing this was unfortunately lost. So yeah, it's been a tough build, this one has. So anyway, so like I said, we're going to be looking at painting and weathering Lazy Lady 5. So grab yourself a brew and a bicky and we'll get straight to it. Okay, so I'm going to start this one off with some modelling. So I'm using some fish filter foam for this. It was quite thick, so I cut it down. It was around about, I think probably about a centimetre thick. Roughly cut it thereabouts of half, and then just sprayed a bit of white through, and it gives you a good modelling effect. I do hope to do a video on this in a little bit more in depth at some point, but for the time being you get the idea on, you know, using this foam for doing modelling. So on this one I free-handed the camouflage because I've been a little bit too lazy in masking them out as I normally do. The later ones tend to have a more of a solid feather line than the early ones, but I did mask out the leading edge because these ones have got the yellow across the far end of the leading edge of the wing, and apparently this was easier for other pilots to see friendly fighters in their rearview mirrors, allegedly. Probably is about right. So after that we've all done several coats of yellow. Move on to putting on the decals, and as always I use micro set down first, which helps the decals adhere to the model, and to help push out any excess fluid we use a cotton bud. Just roll it down, particularly on these walkway lines, just roll it down, force any extra setting solution or water that's in there out, and then afterwards with a paper towel give it another final dab, just to push everything out, because we're using that cotton bud that should have pretty much taken out, if not everything, the majority of it, and just the paper towel is just an extra precaution of just forcing that out. And particularly with stuff like the rain doors or like the registration, it tends to, when you force it down with the paper towel, it tends to force it into any of the panel lines, which will help when I put the micro set on later, which will soften the decal, and hopefully it will conform to any irregular shapes, and particularly again the panel lines, rather than just having, you know, particularly like with the round, there was just this big solid circle and no surface detail that should be there. So once all the decals are done, everything's dried out, I then move on to panel liner. I use Tamiya's Accent panel liner. I use the dark brown, which I tend to use pretty much all the time now. I just find this just seems to work on pretty much everything. Black can be, you know, a little bit stark on some of these things, so the majority of the time I'll avoid using the black and use the dark brown. Just for me, it just seems to pretty much cover any, you know, sort of markings or colours that you're using, and of course this gives a good sort of dirt grimy look. Also, you know, just it accentuates all the panels that are, you know, on the model. As you can see, it's gone over a little bit. You know, it looks a little bit messy. This is easily cleaned up with just a little bit thinner white spirit onto a brush, and then all I do is wick away any overspill, or if, you know, preferably force it in to the panel lines rather than wasting it. So yeah, just sort of, you know, without trying to you know, lose what we've already put in. So what I did forget to do was my chipping before doing the panel lining. It's usually just the way I usually work, and I'd realised once I'd started doing it, I hadn't done it. So I went back and used. I've started using Ammo's stainless steel for this. I know it's not steel, but I just think it gives. It just looks better for scratch work. For me, I like it, and I think it gives a nice worn effect. Once the matte varnish has gone down, it tones it right down anyway. Plus the fact I haven't got any aluminium paint to use anyway. But again, I do tend to go a little bit big with the scratches, and it does go into the recesses. So once the panel liner goes over that, it hides it underneath the panel liner, and just looks a little bit neater. So once I corrected my mistake, I moved on to the rest of the weathering, and here I'm using AK's engine oil, and just creating a few oil leaks. It's quite surprising actually where these leaks can appear. You know, you have an idea where like the oil is and this, that and the other, and where you think it should leak from. But you know, if you look at a lot of reference photos, particularly from some of the very well served during the war, you know, it comes from anywhere. It is really amazing where it just finds its way out of the aircraft. But you do see it in some of the modern ones after they've had a good few hours flying. So yeah, it's always good to, you know, search the internet for some photos, you know, of these sort of things, and you know, you'll be surprised on, you know, where all this oil can spill out from. So for this one, I decided to put the external slipper fuel tank onto this one, and again, through your reference photos, you'd be surprised on where stuff leaks from. So I've used again AK's fuel stain for this one, dabbing a bit on, and with a dry brush wiping it back to give a bit more of a sort of streaky effect, and also thin it down a little bit because I didn't want to have an absolute shed load of the stuff coming out. Just wanted to, you know, just insinuate that there's fuel, you know, leaking out or whatever. I also did the same sort of thing around the fuel filler cap, and given the sort of impression that, you know, after refueling there was still a little bit in the hose and has dribbled out. So to add to that a little bit, I loaded up a brush, and with you can either use a cocktail stick or a needle or whatever, just flick it off the edge of the cocktail stick or needle or whatever you're using, and of course that spatters, but try it before you actually do it, just so you can see how it sort of reacts. But I did this to sort of, you know, simulate there was a little bit of fuel left in the hose and it sort of dribbled out. So all that was left to do was some exhaust staining. I prefer using pigment powders for this. I just feel it gives a more realistic look. It's very messy to do, as you can see. I've got a piece of paper down to sort of protect the work surface, because this stuff can get absolutely everywhere. If you have got a little bit over, that's, you know, once you've brushed it on, it sort of sits on the model, just blow it off, and it should pretty much all go. If it does stick a little bit, just use some water and you can take it away from there. But I used Stardust's smoke pigment, and then afterwards you can see what I'm doing there is with a bit of white ash, just to give that extra burn look. So there we go, guys, that's our Mark 14s all done and dusted. I do hope you have enjoyed what I've managed to scratch together for these two videos due to the loss of footage doing this. It's been a bit of a nightmare build, but it's now behind us and we can move forward. So I hope you guys have enjoyed what I've actually managed to pull together with this one. If you have, and also if you're new around here, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Also, if you put bell notifications on, as you know, that will tell you when the next videos are up and available. Also, if you guys would like to help support me and the channel, there are links in the description down below. So what's left for me to say is, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.